Hello everybody, I'm here with Morwenna Assaf. Morwenna is a lifelong dancer, educator, and performer, and she's also a writer. She has dedicated a lifetime to Middle Eastern dance in all those roles, and she is going to be in Boston very soon to give us the chance to learn from her. So that's why we're here today. I'm trying to get to know her better and try to show you more about her. She was born in England, raised in Montreal in California, and eventually she got involved in dance, in different kinds of dance, until she found, I think, her love of her life, Middle Eastern dance, and she's going to tell us more about it. She studied for 25 years with the legendary Ibrahim Farah in New York, somebody who's been the teacher of stars. Today, Morwenna runs her own studio. She used to be in California until recently, and now she moved to Tennessee, but before that she was a New Englander, so she was in our area. So she has a special love for the New England area where we live, and she knows a lot about us and many of us and the music scene and the dance scene here. So right now her husband, who is Lebanese and he's also a musician, he's a drummer, Seyyide Assaf, and her, they both traveled internationally. They've been teaching throughout the USA and in Lebanon, Mexico, Canada, and the United Kingdom. So we are lucky to have Morwenna here. Hello, Morwenna. I'm recording you there.
Well, I'm glad we finally got it together. Hello, and how are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. This has been a little tricky, but I got you now, and we're hoping the sound is going to be good enough. So, are you ready for this?
Why not? Why not? Let's go for it.
All right. So, I had thought of some questions that maybe we all want to ask you. And the first thing is, how did it happen that you started getting involved with Middle Eastern dance at all?
Well, living in the area of New Bedford in Massachusetts, where there are more Lebanese, I think, than anywhere else in the world in one place, I was invited by a friend, I was a hairdresser at the time, to go take a class. And her husband said, hell no, you're not doing belly dancing. So I said, okay, Sandy, let's go. So we went. I can't say that was a wonderful experience. The lady really didn't know anything, but she was Lebanese and she took the dance seriously. So it wasn't a flim-flam thing at all. She just didn't know a great deal. But I stayed with her about a year and then saw an ad for a belly dance class in Norwood and got in my car on a snowy day, drove out to Norwood. The class was canceled because of the snow, and thank goodness the people called me back afterwards and apologized for not being there, and I did go there, and there I met another girl who said, how would you like to study with somebody from New York? And I thought, well, you know, what a dream that would be. So I said yes, and then went down to Fall River and met a woman by the name of Dolores Matson, and we became friends. Dolores is my best friend to this day. And that was, 1975 or 75, I think. And she talked me into going to New York. And that's another whole story. But that's how I started.
Very good.
It's a wonderful experience. I wouldn't change it for anything.
What did your friend's husband say after that? I got caught in that part of the story.
It's funny because they ended up getting a divorce. But he was an old country Portuguese guy who, the old standards and the old fashioned, and his wife wasn't in a belly dance, and he thought I was very liberal and very outspoken, and I thought, I don't think I am, In fact, I was rather shy and retiring at that point, but it got me out of my place, and I went ahead. So it's been good. So that's how I got into belly dancing.
So Morwenna, I know that I already mentioned about Bobby Farah, and I imagine that name is gonna come up. Who else were your mentors that most influenced you?
In my dance life, I wouldn't be in this business if it wasn't for him. He took care of, all the things that happen in the through that and over it, and see the other side of the dance, which is where he was. And then there's also Elena Lentini in New York. To me, she's the ultimate artist, and she has been from day one to today. She's incredible, I think. And the other person, Morwenna. Morwenna has been a big influence, and I'm thankful that even when we brought him to Boston years ago, I continued bringing him, and he'd stay in our house, and we'd sit up half the night talking dance. That was, that is a big impression. And then the other person, Amani of Lebanon, they are the people who have been the biggest influence. And a lady in Lebanon called Georgette Gabara, who's actually a ballet dancer, she was the last big inspiration that actually got me into writing. Who have been the most in my dance life. So I'm thankful that I've had friends, Alia Corella, Dolores Matson, all of these people all help make you who you are, and they're all great artists. Enough said on that?
Wonderful. So I noticed that you tend to gravitate towards the Lebanese styles of dancing, either Oriental dance or folklore. So we all wonder if you could tell us how come that you got so interested in Lebanese style of dance.
Well, it's a two-faced question, really, or two-sided, because Bobby was Lebanese. And so his style was basically Lebanese, even though he taught everything. And though in those days, we didn't call it Egyptian dance or Lebanese, it was Oriental, and it covered everything. And it wasn't until I went to California and people had said to me, well, are you Egyptian or Turkish? And I'd think, what? I'm neither one. And then I would stop and say, I'm Lebanese. And so then I got dubbed as a Lebanese dancer, and because most of my influence really was Lebanese. Then, of course, in Boston, as you know, the music's primarily Lebanese. And you're living in the Lebanese community. And when I was the dancer of the day in Boston, it wasn't because I was dancing to Kulthum. It was because I was dancing to the songs that they knew, that the people knew, and they loved. So it got me in favor with those people. And then, of course, I married the drummer. And I say that with tongue-in-cheek because I always tell dancers, never mess around with the musicians. All you'll get is a bad reputation. But, unless you're serious about them, And then I was lucky, and really, I have been married since 1980, and I wouldn't change a day of that. But that's my two-sided story to Bobby and Waleed. And that's how I got into it. And I do prefer the Lebanese style because it's what I know so well. I see dancers today that get into Egyptian style only, and they don't have any depth. It's just lock, tuck, boom, tuck, tick, tuck, boom, tuck, boom, they don't go anywhere. And I don't like the straight-legged style. To me, that is more Latin, and it's not Middle Eastern, even though there's a a lot of that influence in the Middle East now. They don't do it in their belly dance. So why are we incorporating it into the belly dance? I don't get that. But that's why I prefer Lebanese dance. And I love the music. It's happy. Lebanese music is always happy. It makes you sing, it makes you hum, and it makes you dance. Where Egyptian music can be very straight and crisp and and it's done. And that's not what I like. I like to be happy. I like to smile. I like to laugh. So that's it.
Interesting. So you got a little bit into my next question, which is I know that I'm so happy that you're gonna come to Boston and spend a few hours with us and teach us all about the Lebanese style. So you already said a few things, but um, what else could you add to that, like to give us an idea of what you will be covering in the workshop, what we'll be learning after we attend that class? I'm looking forward.
Comparing the Lebanese style to the Egyptian style, so people do understand the difference. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with one style or the other, just the differences that are in the two dance styles. I will cover that. I will cover it from a perspective of folklore, because the Lebanese have their own folklore just like the Egyptians do. Mm-hmm. The costuming, which sometimes can cross over, but there's differences. The staging is different when you're doing Lebanese style than Egyptian style. The music can be Egyptian, as you know, because you work in Boston, that the musicians all play the classics. And personally, for myself, Lebanese, and this doesn't come from being in an area, and it's what I've observed on Arabic television, but we live with it. And the musicians from Lebanon are far more accomplished than the musicians from Egypt. And that I always found kind of amazing, because I always thought Egyptian had the better musicians.
So now I would love to ask you, as you watch other performers, and you must have a favorite. So who would be the epitome of the Lebanese dancer, maybe from this day, and maybe somebody who was, earlier on famous, important dancer?
That's an easy one. My favorite all-time dancer was Nadia, and her style was Lebanese. It was not Egyptian, and I loved Nadia. Of course, my husband's cousin was married to her. He was the violinist who now lives in Montreal, Shakik Hashem. He was married to her, and that might have a little bit to do with why I feel so much for her. Mm-hmm. But she was a beautiful dancer and such a nice person. The other person is Amani. Amani is dynamite to watch. I mean, she's just fabulous, and she's equally as nice a person as you could ever meet in this world. She's my new favorite. And then, as I mentioned before, Elena Landini I love because she's so different. And again, now Elena's style is Turkish. She's a Turkish dancer. She dances to all Turkish music. But I love what she does. She draws you into her show. She's the artist, complete.
قل لي